In March 2020, when the COVID pandemic hit Ontario and the rest of Canada, visitors and people living in long-term care were not allowed in. The result of that was close to catastrophic. People living in long-term care became ill, they became more fragile, more deaths were recorded. Healthcare leaders across the country determined we've got to find ways to allow family members and friends and other visitors to come into long-term care homes, spend time with the residents living there, even during times of COVID outbreak. A project was developed with funding for 14 implementation science teams across the country. I formed one of those teams out of the Bruyere Research Institute in Ottawa. We formed a partnership with 3 long-term care homes, and also we partnered with numerous organizations in Ontario that serve the needs of people living in long-term care. And we did all of this in order to help ensure that family members and other people who were able to enter into the homes and spend time with residents in long-term care homes, even during times of COVID outbreak.
So designated care partners, or DCPs as we call them here at Bruyere, are also called essential care partners, ECPs, and other organizations. And what they are family members, friends, anyone the resident feels comfortable to have come in and be part of their care team to provide different aspects of their care. The difference between a visitor and a DCP or essential care partner role comes down to many things, one being training. So they're learning about the rules, learning how to do things safely. It gives them a sense of responsibility, they have a sense of accountability, and they're members of the team.
It's important to make the DCPs really feel part of the team because they are the best advocate for the resident. They become comfortable to know to whom they can talk to when the residents need something. That familiarity, those connections helps them to be better advocates for the resident.
Our research project really shone a light on the value of family presence as seen by not only the residents, who rated their experience as 100% satisfied with the Designated Care Partner program, but also by our team members who saw family presence improving the overall well-being of the residents that they look after.
Before the pandemic, there was certainly anecdotal evidence, and there was some scientific evidence that the role played by family members and close friends for residents in long-term care was important, but it had not been a major focus of research at that point. We now have abundant scientific evidence showing that this is true. There are a number of key findings from our research. The first is the very simple but important finding that essential care partners are essential. When essential care partners are barred from the home, there are declines in well-being. When they're allowed back in, things improve. The most dramatic example of this that we found had to do with people living with dementia, people living with Alzheimer's in long-term care homes. When they were no longer being visited by close friends and by family members, their well-being and health declined very dramatically. Then, when visitors were allowed back in, all of a sudden, well-being was restored. The correlation was absolutely dramatic. People working in long-term care learned in a visceral, immediate way how important the care is that is provided by family members and friends who come in and spend time. This role of essential care partner needs to have some formality about it. It needs to be seen as a role within the long-term care setting, just as the personal support worker has a role or the registered nurse has a role. This is a role that goes above and beyond that of a visitor to someone in the long-term care home. Care falls into a couple of different categories. The basic category is what some people refer to as psychosocial care. It's not transactional care where you deliver a care bundle like a set of medication. It's relational that occurs through the unfolding of the relationship, the interaction, and that is the kind of care that people exhibit toward each other when they simply spend time together. But we also learned that a great many essential care partners go beyond this, not all do, and provide some elements of things like personal grooming, being with a person at mealtime, taking them into maybe a garden-like setting. It's all of these things that reminds them of pleasant times during their life. Another thing that we learned through our research was the importance of the relationship among the people who provide most of the care, primarily personal support workers, and family members and friends who provide the relational care. This relationship is vital, but the worrying thing was that we learned that there is an element of acrimony. The basic care workers are incredibly busy, and this has to do with how long-term care is funded, structured, and supported by the Ministries of Health in Canada. But people going into long-term care don't experience necessarily short staffing. They experience mom or dad or my uncle or my great friend being neglected, and thus the acrimony takes shape. In bringing about change in long-term care, there's a number of things that need to be considered. And the first is there are all of these rules that must be followed by long-term care homes, and there are all of these compliance officers to enforce the rules and report deficiencies and apply penalties. Is it likely that the behavior that's going to be produced will be really caring behavior and also innovative behavior? Are they more likely going to be thinking, how do we stay out of trouble? I'm not saying get rid of it, but reduce the reliance on compliance. This is a big, complex system with many, many different long-term care homes located in all kinds of different demographic situations. We want to bring about change. We need to empower the individual homes to determine what should they work on first, what should they work on second. It's not a matter of some central planning committee in the capital city deciding, here is the good idea, and then imposing their good idea on homes that are dealing with vastly different circumstances. We need to fully involve the key stakeholders whose behavior represents what's going on in long-term care homes. And this means the residents living in the homes, family members and other essential care partners, personal support workers, therapeutic recreation staff, and many, many others. We need to invite them not just to the planning table, but also the decision-making table. One of the worries that has come out in our research team, and I know in other research teams as well, is that government will look at essential care partners and think, oh, we can just use them to make up for the shortfalls in care. No, these essential care partners are already playing their role, delivering the care that they're able to provide. We need to increase the funding envelope for basic care for long-term care. We need to ensure that more basic care is available for people living in long-term care, and we need to work on the collegiality of the relationship between family members and other essential care partners and those who are providing basic care as part of their paid work in a long-term care home. And the final thing that I would say about bringing about change in long-term care homes is we need to create a way that the people who are interested in bringing about improvements can speak with each other, collaborate together, and learn from each other. What a shame it would be if those breakthroughs stayed confined to those homes. We want to make sure that they get shared so that all can benefit from the improvements that we come upon.
There are key lessons from our research project. Essential care partners are essential. Reduce the long-term care system's reliance on compliance. Improve the relationships of essential care partners and PSWs. Empower the homes to set their own priorities for improvements. Invite stakeholders to participate in the improvement process, including residents, essential care partners, and people who work in long-term care homes. Increase funding to ensure adequate levels of PSW support.